Praise the Lord, my beautiful blessed souls. We are bruised and not broken. I'm back with another word. Today is actually June the 4th. And the word of the day is actually rest. And we are going to see how this is going to play a big part in this chapter. Remember, the last one on June 3rd was exhaustion. So the prescription that God gives us for this is, for exhaustion, is what? Rest. Okay, so I'm going to read it. What is God's prescription for my tiredness? God wants you to take a break and get some rest. He set aside a full day of rest at creation as an example for us to follow. Jesus understood the limitations of his disciples and took them away for a break. Work is good, but it must be balanced by regular attention to health of your body and your soul. Whole life comes from holy rest. Now, in Genesis 2:1-3, it says, the creation of heaven and the earth and everything in it was complete on the seventh day. Having finished his task, God rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy because it was the day when he rested from his work of creation. So that was in Genesis 2:1-3. So if God rested, we have to rest. And he understands that. Also, we have Psalm 127:2, Mark 6:33, and Leviticus 19:30. I didn't want to read them all because I know right now I am, so I'm going to let you see them. I'm trying to get through this one because there's a lot to cover. And because there's a lot to cover, I'm going to try to get through it the best way I can. So let's get started. I really didn't want to read it. We are in Judges chapter 12. There's a lot of info. The men of Ephraim were called to arms, and they crossed to Zephon and said to Jephthah, why did you cross over to fight against the Ammonites and did not call us to go with you? We will burn your house over you with fire. And Jephthah said to them, I and my people had a great dispute with the Ammonites, and when I called you, you did not save me from their hands, so they didn't come. So, and when I saw this had happened with people now, and when I saw that you would not save me, I took my life in my hands, and crossed over against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into my hand. Why then how have you come up to me this day to fight against me? This is where stuff be just popping up out of nowhere. Got to pay attention to these type of things. Then Jephthah gathered all the men of Gilead and fought with Ephraim, right? And the men of Gilead struck Ephraim because they said, you are fugitives of Ephraim and Gileadites. In the midst of Ephraim and Manasseh, and the Gileadites captured the fords of Jordan against the Ephraimites. And when any of the fugitives of Ephraim said, let me go over, the men of Gilead said to him, are you an Ephraimite? And when he said no, they said to him, then say Shibboleth. And they said Sibboleth, for they could not pronounce it right. So they seized them and slaughtered them at the fords of the Jordan. At that time, it was 42,000 of the Ephraimites fell. Now Jephthah judged Israel 6 years, and then Jephthah the Gileadite died and was buried in his city in Gilead. Now after him, Ibzan of Bethlehem judged Israel, and he had 30 sons and 30 daughters, and he gave them in marriage outside of his clan, another thing. And 30 daughters he brought in from outside for his sons, and he judged Israel 7 years. Then Ibzan died and was buried in Bethlehem. After him was Elon. Pay attention. The Zebulunite judged Israel, and he judged Israel 10 years. Elon. Then Elon the Zebulunite died and was buried at Ajalon in the land of Zebulun. After him, Abdon the son of Hillel the Pirathonite judged Israel. They had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 donkeys, and he judged Israel 8 years. And then Abdon the son of Hillel the Pirathonite died and was buried at Pirathon in the land of Ephraim in the hill country of the Amalekites. So now we're going to look into this. It's a lot going on here. Now Jephthah is the judge over Israel, right, at this time. And so his life was marked, by a lot of different things. He had a lot of misery, a lot of violence, but in success as well. So it's kind of bittersweet, his life. He had a lot going on. But with the Lord's help, of course, God gave him, all of these victories because he was with him. And he wanted to deliver his people. And so he just, he used them. So Jephthah and the people of Gilead and Manasseh have thoroughly defeated the Ammonites who were oppressing them from the east. But however, Jephthah foolishly bound himself, of course, to the vow that required him to sacrifice his daughter, his only child, offspring. We talked about that. Now, Jephthah and Gilead are confronted by a surprising enemy. Right. This be with unclear motives. Like, where did this come from? Why? This is dropped out of the sky to know it. The men of Ephraim, their own people. They had who lived to the west of the Jordan River. Excuse me. I got this AC on because it's going to be hot today. Excuse me. Oh, and so, okay. So now Jephthah and Gilead confronted by a surprising enemy with the motives. So they demand to know why they were not asked to be included in the fight against the Ammonites. Now, remember, they had this conversation before, and then, they brushed it off. It was nothing. So now they're making a big deal of it. Why? Because they won, and they got all these extra territories, of course. Before even hearing a response, they threatened to burn Jephthah's house down with him in it. Now, yeah, that's something you got to take seriously. So Jephthah's response is simple. The Ammonites had oppressed the people of Gilead for years, and clearly the Ephraimites weren't eager to fight them until now. So now all of a sudden you have a problem that I haven't handled it. Now you go wanting to step in. And this we will see with a lot of people, places, and things. Things you have already taken care of, now they want to, or want to be a part of something, or whatever it is. Pay attention to these type of situations. So Jephthah claims he had called on Ephraim, but this might be a reference to their earlier indifference, right? They left with no other options. Jephthah said he risked his own life. You didn't come help me, you didn't do anything, and attacked the Ammonites with his own people, and the Lord gave victory. Why? Because there's a bunch of things going on. First of all, if he wanted to attack them and do something because they were pressing him, he could have been did it on his own. He decided they didn't want to do it. And even, when Jephthah ended up having to do it, and he's the outcast because they got a problem. Of course, they have a problem with that. And so now the God gave him the victories in all these territories. So now they want to come in and they want to, cause issues and problems out of nowhere, because if you really wanted it done, you could have did it yourself. You wanted me to come, you could have came to me. You see what I'm saying? If you really wanted to help, but you didn't. And so now that all of this is done, now you want to have an issue and a problem with me. This be what happens. People call themselves want to step in. And take credit for things basically that they did not do, and it's not even an issue of that. The issue was some battles are not yours to fight. And when we get involved with these things, this is going to be a time where they were supposed to rest. And that's why I was saying with the rest situation, this will be a time where they should have just rested and stayed out of it. Because if you are not going to go help, then let them do what they're doing and mind your business. And that's just how they got to go sometimes. People want to get involved. Either you're going to help or you're not. And if you're not, then fine, but don't get in the way. And don't, and I tell people all the time, you don't have to help me, but don't hinder me. Don't get in my way of me trying to do what I need to do for me. Because if I'm not going to help you, or if I'm going to help you, either way it go, I'm not going to stop you or get in your way. And I think a lot of times this is what people want to do, this that pride and ego thing. And they want to take credit and, like they did so much or do so much. So this would have been a time when they should have rested and they should have minded their business. And sometimes this is what we need to do. Set your cape down, shut up, mind your business, stay out of it, leave it alone. Because a lot of these battles is not yours. God is giving you a time of rest where you don't have to battle. When it is your time to battle, then that's when you'll need to battle. So you might be exhausted and in need of rest because you were fighting battles maybe that you shouldn't even be fighting, that God didn't call you to fight. So now, this is what happened with them. Now, were the men of Ephraim truly angry that they did not, given the chance to participate in the war? Were they expressing wounded pride of honor? Of course. Or were they using this as an excuse for aggression and expansion? Of course, so to cause an issue with them so they could go to war with them, because this is what folks will do. They don't like you. They don't really have a reason not to like you, but then they want to find something. So they want to dig up something or come up with something and they're watching you. Any little thing you say or do is a problem. These are people you got to stay away from, because no matter what you say or do, they're going to always have an issue and a problem with you. That's why I said people pleasing is not good. Not only did they cross the Jordan for battle and they threatened to kill the leader, but they also taunted the people of Gilead, calling them fugitives of Ephraim, implying that the people have no right to this territory. In any case, Jephthah takes the threat seriously. Now, you talking about somebody who's been battling for a long time and in them streets. Why would you even want to pick fights with them? He gathers his fighting forces and successfully attacks invading Ephraim's army. Now, the survivors of the Ephraim's army scatter and attempt to run home. Unfortunately for them, the Gileads, had already captured that crossing point over the Jordan. So they had captured the soldiers of Ephraim one by one as they attempted to cross. They were just sitting there waiting on them. So, this was something they could have avoided. those, that they can identify were immediately killed. Those who claimed not to be from Ephraim were subject to a language test. So this is how they tested them to see if they were lying. And Gilead's men, forced the fleeing soldiers to pronounce the Hebrew shibboleth. Those from Ephraim betrayed by their regional accent, because they had, specific accents, and the Gilead soldiers slaughtered them. So now, after all of this, Jephthah's death, 3 more judges are established in Israel, along with Shamgar and Jair. These are sometimes called minor or secondary judges, since so little is known about them. Ibzan judges for 7 years from Bethlehem, and he has 30 sons and 30 daughters, and he expands in influence and power by marrying all his children and spouses outside of his own clan, which I don't even know why. And then, a lot of things we see is for these reasons, because as we can see, even with the gospel, it's become a business more than anything. And this is what they were doing, make a business of a lot of things. Everything was business. So the most obscure judge of the Bible is Elon, the Zebulunite, who judges Israel for 10 years before dying and being buried in Zebulun. Now, Abdon, the son of Hillel, is from the town of Pirathon and the Ephraim Hills. So he's also described as the hill country of the Amalekites for unknown reasons. But Abdon's wealth and far-reaching influence are signaled by the fact that he has 40 sons and 30 grandsons, each with his own donkey. Abdon served as a judge for 8 years. Now, next will be beginning another cycle of sin, oppression, and calling for mercy and rescue, because they're going to get back into. You see, whenever they start having all of this extra stuff going on, you can tell something's about to pop off. So the upcoming chapters are going to contain the story of perhaps the most famous of all judges. We're going to get into that, which is Samson, but we're not going to talk about him right now. We'll talk about him when we get there. So now, where we are. I myself have been struggling with this rest and exhaustion thing, and I think a lot of times we're mentally and emotionally and tired, and then it makes us physically tired, so we do need to get some rest, and we have to practice it. I have to make myself rest and break away too sometimes. Why? Because I be exhausted between work and trying to do these words and just regular life, cleaning, cooking, whatever, paying bills. It just gets to be a lot sometimes. Judges chapter 12. In this chapter, we have 1, Jephthah's recount with the Ephraimites, the bloodshed on that unhappy occasion, and the conclusion of Jephthah's life and government. And it will be a short account of 3 other judges of Israel: Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. Now, let's get into what I really want to get into, because it's just so much going on. Okay, now it has a lot, because we will see these things happening to us in our life, in our own lives. And, wherever it's at, whether it's at our jobs, whether it's with our spouses, whether it's with, we have to look at them, whether it's with our children, our family, friends, whatever, we have to pay attention to these things, because they show us a lot when these type of things happen, when people come against you for no reason, when, just out of the blue, all of this, it's just like unnecessary drama, I call it. So now, me personally, this is why I try to stay in my little corner. And like I said, I put my cape down. I'm not fighting all in every battle. I'm going to fight the ones God called me, and I'm going to rest and mind my business. And I'm going to take that cape off, because I'm not Superwoman. I'm not nobody's savior. That I point you to the one who does that, because I'm not doing that. I'm not God. I can't be God. And people's like, that's his job. So I point you to him, because that's what he do. I got to know my limits and limitations, because he's not going to let me do the things that he's supposed to be doing. I'm out of my league, and we got to know when we are out of our league, and let God handle. This is that control thing. So now, Judges chapter 12, summary of spiritual lineage. We're going to look at it. Judges 12. In the same deep layer, we're going to look at it. Concise chapter review. Now, the summary is Ephraim confronts Jephthah, right? Angrily for not including them in the battle, like I said, against Ammon. Now, they had this conversation before. And this be what I be not understanding. If they had already talked about it during that time, why did you wait to now, after they went on ahead and won the battle, and now you want to come? This is like when you're doing stuff in your life, and people, will watch you. They won't help. Then you go do something great, and then they want to come along and be like, oh, well, you should have did this way. Or I wanted you to do it that way. Or, they refuse to help. And then when you build your life, they feel like they're entitled, or they should come, or you should, now they want some type of something from you. Come on now. So this is, you got to pay attention. So Jephthah's response that he did call him. Right, because then it's like, oh, well, you didn't ask me. Well, you didn't offer either. They refused, and so he had to go on about his own business, because you can't make nobody do nothing, right? So when you see that this is going on, you go on and you do you. But then folks seem like they don't want you to do you either. They want you to wait and depend on them. No, and they deal with you when they feel like it. That's not how this goes. You know, you got to let people know that off the rip, because my life does not stop, begin and end because of, you know, people, places, and things. So don't think because you left me in one spot, I'm going to be standing there. You left me there, and when you come back, I promise you, I'm not going to be there. Why? Because I have a life just like you do, you know. And people think they the end or be all. A civil conflict erupts. Gilead versus Ephraim. Now, Gilead defeats Ephraim and controls the Jordan crossings. Now, the Shibboleth test exposing the fleeing Ephraimites by their speech, leading to the 42,000 deaths. After Jephthah dies, Israel cycles through 3 minor judges, Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. We talk about that. Now, I wanted to look into the diagnostic tribal thing. The tribe refuses to heal its insecurity, and that's where Ephraim come in. Wanting to be in control, wanting to be over things, being insecure, wanting to shine. For what? Pride and ego. A leader carries unhealed rejection, and the unhealed rejection could be the reason why they want to always get the claps, the awards, to be out front, to take credit for what others do and not be there but want the credit. This is what this is about, but that's their own thing within their own self. A nation has no unified spiritual identity. A nation has no unified spiritual identity. This is a problem, because these people should have been unified, not torn apart. But because of this is where it is. Pride becomes a generational stronghold. Exactly. Pride and ego. Speech becomes a mark of spiritual belonging. Exactly. So this chapter reveals 4 lineage principles. Now, lineage of pride creates internal warfare. Why? Because Ephraim repeatedly displays a generational pattern of entitlement, offense, jealousy, insecurity, masked as aggression. And they did this to Gideon in Judges 8. And now again to Jephthah. Again, the pattern. When a lineage refuses to confront its insecurity, it becomes hostile to those who walk in obedience. Why? Because there's no reason for you to have any hostility. You know what I'm saying? You could be over there doing what you got to do. I'm over here doing what I got to do. What was really the problem? You know what I'm saying? And I be telling myself, like, people be having issues or problems. I be saying, I ain't heard or spoke to these people in years. How they got I ain't even seen you. I ain't even spoke to you. Like, what's that on? And when I already know, when I see stuff like that going on, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them. Because if I haven't even spoken to you, what issue could you probably have with me? I don't have an issue with you. So why is it you have an issue with me? Pay attention. But see, that's their own stuff. So, unhealed rejection produces harsh leadership. Jephthah was rejected by his brothers, driven out of his father's house, forced to build identity outside his tribe. So when Ephraim attacks him, it triggers old wounds. The pattern is unhealed rejection, leadership, explosive conflict. Why? And this is how, you know, and this could be a fighting situation when people, and I tell people too, because I you know, God's delivering me from certain things. But it's just, you know, it's certain triggers that I have. I don't go around messing with folks, but folks ain't going to come along messing with me, because I love, you know, the Lord. I love people, but I'm not about to be nobody's, victim. I always tell people that. I'm not about to be a victim. I'm not about to be your little Cinderella where you going to have me just running around at the bottom of your foot and you want me to do what you want, bow and worship you. No. Speech reveals lineage identity. Shibboleth test is not random. It is prophetic. The Shibboleth is wheat, river, and flowing rain. So it symbolizes provision, covenant, blessing, fruitfulness, and the ability to flow with God. So Ephraim could not pronounce it. So he was not flowing with God. See? And this is why he got beat, because although he was a part of the 12 tribes, and this is the sad part, you know, and I'm quite sure even with, you know, with us, God sees us, you know, arguing and fighting, he's going to correct it and correct the one who's out of line and out of order. Why? Because they were out of order. And when you don't correct your children and you allow them to do things, you say, oh, little Johnny just is he a little child? No, little Johnny needs to be corrected. You need to do something, little Johnny. Little Johnny can't run around here doing what he want to do. Cussing folks and doing, no. Little Johnny need to be corrected. And if not, somebody else may come along and correct him and you may not like it. But if you had did it yourself, it would have been all good. So now the meaning of, so minor judges, these are the lineage stabilizers. This was Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon. They represent rebuilding, stabilizing, reordering, reestablishing generational structure. After the chaos of Jephthah, God inserts judges who will bring quiet administration and generational order. Why? Because we don't want no whole bunch of stuff going on all the time. We need a time of rest. We need a time of rejuvenation. This is what this is about. Ain't got to always be no drama-filled stuff. And some people can't. If it ain't rough, it ain't right. They don't want it. They just feel like life is bored without the drama. We drama. We see it on TV everywhere. You know, if folks ain't got no whole bunch of drama, folks consider it more and they don't want to watch. They don't want to be bothered. You know, and this is what this is. Usually it's when this God stuff and folks trying to do the right thing, and because that's what God is. But Ephraim's lineage pattern. Ephraim was equal double fruitness. That's what his name meant. But their behavior meant double offense. So because they were, they thought they were extra, and a lot of times, although God loves us and we have different relationships with us, it doesn't give us the guaranteed right to go around just doing what we want to do as a chosen or not. And this is where a lot of us, chosen, called, whatever. This is why we fall into these self-sabotaging situations where we mess ourselves up. Ephraim's generational wounds was chronic insecurity, jealousy of other tribes, right? Entitlement to honor, anger when not centered, fragile identity, competitive spirit, tribal superiority complex. And when you see all of these lined up, this is a problem. And a lot of folks have a lot of this going on, and it's in different aspects of their lives, and we have to look at it, and we have to check it, because I myself have gone through this same cycle, especially when you're a person that's been rejected a lot. It's like you have a lot to prove, so it's like you always on the the offense, like. But even spiritual symbolism, a lineage with great potential but unstable identity, right? A tribe that wants the glory without the obedience. Exactly. Everybody wants, everybody want to go to heaven. Don't nobody want to die. Everybody want all this stuff, but they don't want to go through nothing, walk through the fire and flames to get it. People who want the harvest but not the warfare. And this is usually what this is about. People see you doing stuff and they want to come and do it or want to be a part of it, but they just come in to take. They don't want to actually walk through it with you, and this is what this is about. They didn't want to walk through it. They just wanted to come and claim the victory of it. Ephraim's prophetic warning: if a lineage refuses to heal insecurity, it will sabotage its own fruitfulness. Exactly, self-sabotage. So Gilead's lineage pattern: Jephthah's people. Gilead equals rocky region. Witness Mal. So his life was full of rockiness. Gilead's generational wounds, rejection, illegitimacy, being overlooked, being used only in crisis, or when people felt like they're fighting without affirmation. Gilead's spiritual symbolism, a lineage that produces warriors through hardship, a people who rise from rejection, a tribe that carries deliverance but struggles with tenderness. All right? Gilead's prophetic warning: if a deliverer does not heal their wounds, they will fight their own brothers. And this has a lot to, and we don't want to do that. This is what we don't want to do. Ibzan lineage and pattern. He's I'm not even going to get into this because we haven't gotten that far yet. I'm going to continue on. Okay, generational patterns and warning. Unhealed security becomes generational conflict. Ephraim's pride becomes a death sentence for 42,000 people, which it really was if they had to just mind their business. You know how folks just don't know how to mind their business? And it creates a bunch of drama because they just should have shut up and shut it to the up. I tell folks sometimes you just got to shut it up. Shut to the up. Speech reveals spiritual lineage. Shibboleth exposes who truly belongs to the flow of God and who didn't. So either they was speaking the way they was supposed or they were not. Rejection produces harsh leadership. Jephthah's trauma shapes his decisions. All right. And a lot of us do. We got to pay attention to that. God inserts stabilizers after chaos. That was with Ibzan, Elon, and Abdon generational repairs. We're not going to get into them yet. Lineage determine leadership style. Each judge reflects their spiritual DNA, their tribe. Now, prophetically, we're going to look at these things. Hold on. I wanted a full breakdown of the characters and the places and stuff. So we're going to look at this. Jephthah meant Yipdak. He opens, God opens, he will release. And that's prophetic, because he opened the door for them to move forward, to gain the, to fight and win and gain those extra territories. So God opened the doors. Why? Because he was rejected. That when you're rejected, usually means all the doors is closed or your life is, stagnated and still. So now God's opening the doors for him, although his life was rejected, is no longer rejected. The world had him rejected. God did not. So Who was Jephthah? He was the judge of Israel, the son of Gilead the prostitute, rejected by his brothers, later called back to lead. Now, where was he from? Gilead, east of the Jordan. When was this? Around 1100 BC. Why this matters, he represents a deliverer born from rejection. Exactly, a leader shaped by trauma. Now, how he functions in this chapter responds to Ephraim's accusations. He fights a civil war, judges Israel 6 years, and dies and is buried in Gilead. Spiritual meaning? A deliverer with an open door anointing, but closed emotional wounds. Again, you can see that. Lineage meaning a picture of what happens when rejected son becomes a national leader without inner healing. Why? Because when you don't get healed and you get these positions, then you tend to operate out of your brokenness a lot of times in different situations. This is why God takes us through the process. The Ephraimites, name meaning Ephraim, double fruitness, ash heap, turn fruitful. Who are they? The descendants of Joseph through his sons Ephraim, right? A powerful, proud tribe in Central Israel. Why? Because remember, Joseph was one of the called and chosen. So because of that, this is why they had their prideful situation. Joseph himself was not prideful, but as you can see, his children were. Where Central Highlands of Israel, because they took, they felt like because they were Joseph's children, they was special. So with Central Highlands of Israel, modern West Bank region, this is where this was at. When active throughout Judges, confront Gideon in Judges 8 and Jephthah in Judges 12. Why does this matter? They repeatedly show a generational pattern of insecurity and entitlement. Exactly. These are children who went off of what their father had done and accomplished, and they, feel entitled because of it. And so we see this with a lot of children in the generations to come, that after the parent has done all of this, they feel entitled. And this is why a lot of times they're angry with their parents. And they, because if they're not getting their spoiled rotten, they mean everything that they're not getting their way, it becomes an issue and a problem. They feel like somebody owes them something, entitled, and this becomes an issue. So how they function in the chapter. They accuse Jephthah of excluding them, start internal conflict. They lose the 42,000 men, and they fail the Shibboleth test. So God wasn't with them, being bothered with them at that time anyway. That's why they should have stayed where they was. If God wanted them to be involved, they would have been involved. Spiritual meaning, a lineage with great potential but deep insecurity. The lineage meaning a tribe that wants honor without obedience, glory without sacrifice, and credit without commitment. And this is what we see a lot of time. I know in my life, a lot of folks like to take a lot of credit for what I have done and not done. It's like when I do something well, they want the credit, but when I don't, then they want to point the finger, and this becomes a problem. Why? Because when if you're not going to help, like I said, don't get in the way, and you can't complain about stuff you're not willing to help change or willing to help do. And a lot of times people will do that. They will have so much criticism. But if you yourself don't want to come and do it, and you want me to do it, then shut up and let me do it. You know what I'm saying? And however it comes out, because guess what? If you don't want to help and you don't want to do it, you should have no say so over how it got done. You just shouldn't. How you going to complain when you didn't bother? That's why I'm like, Lord help me, because folks, I be having to help them find and get their minds, because they mind be lost, and I be having to help them find it. Mental and emotional patterns. They are easily offended, quick to anger, competitive, jealous, fragile ego, and needs validation. So these are all of the things, and we see a lot of this going on. Good aspect, when aligned, Ephraim is fruitful, strategic, and influential. But when the bad aspect is when he's insecure, Ephraim becomes a combative, divisive, self-sabotaging person. This is what this is, or a clan as a whole, a tribe. Now, the Gileadites, the name meaning rocky region, hill testimony, mountain of witness. Who they are, a clan in region east of the Jordan, Jephthah's people. Where? Modern-day Jordan, northwest region. When was this prominent in Judges 12? Why they matter? They represent warriors formed through hardship. A lot of times people who are formed in hard stuff, they have, their own little stuff going on. And we all do, whether we have a whole bunch of issues or not. How they function in this chapter: they fight Ephraim, control the Jordan crossing, they use the Shibboleth test, and kill the 42,000 Ephraimites. Spiritual meaning, a lineage of survivors, fighters, witness bearers. Right, because when it's time for the rubber meet the road, you got to do. You can't depend on other people to come help you, and this is what that shows. He's like, listen, we got issues and we got problems. Listen, we can't depend on people to come fight and help us. We got to help ourselves, and this is what this looks like. And then people don't like it. It's like, why you don't want to help? You want to leave folks to be rejected and all of this. You only want to be bothered when you want to. But then if they move forward, you have an attitude. You should be happy that they're making headway instead of the opposite. I don't get it. Lineage means that people who rise from rejection, illegitimacy, and being overlooked. Exactly. Mental and emotional patterns. They're defensive. They're hardened. Yeah. Loyal. Reactive when triggered. And protective of territory. Yep. The good aspect, they're strong, resilient, and courageous. The bad aspect, they can become harsh, unforgiving, and overly militant. I can account for that. I can account for that. Nah, God is working on me. Yeah, God is working on me. Amazon. Oh, no, I'm not going to look at them up. The Jordan River crossing. Okay, the name meaning Jordan, to descend, to flow down. Who and what? Major river dividing east and west of Israel, where it runs from Mount Hermon to the Dead Sea. What is used as a strategic border. Why it matters. Gilead controls the crossing to identify the Ephraimite. Spiritual meaning, a place of transition, identity, testing, and crossing over. Lineage meaning, a boundary where true identity is revealed. Now, Shiblioth meaning ear of grain, wheat, flowing stream. Who and what? A word used to test tribal identity. Why it matters. Ephraimites could not pronounce. They would say Siblioth when it's Shiblioth. So the spiritual meaning represents the language of covenant blessing. Lineage meaning a sign that speech reveals spiritual alignment, right? Because remember, God called the world into we're speaking. Ephraimites versus the Gileadites, a full relational breakdown, because I wanted to know in relations to each other who were they. So this is the same root, different wombs. Both tribes descend from Joseph, so they're relatives. See, and you see how the relatives will be the ones with all of this going on. Exactly. Ephraim is Joseph's youngest son. Remember, he's the one that the blessing went to. Manasseh is Joseph's oldest son. Gilead is a clan within Manasseh, so that's the oldest son. And that's okay. So Ephraim and Gilead are cousins, but their lineage wounds. This is the problem. See, this is so much dysfunction. Now they fighting and killing each other instead of fighting the enemies. They fight each other. This is so much of a breakdown right here. This is crazy. Ephraim's wounds: insecurity, entitlement, and offense. Exactly. And what were they offended by? I guess because they came from the lower brother, and he wasn't the one, even though he was the oldest son. He didn't get the blessing. The firstborn blessing. Ephraim did. So this is where his pride comes in, because he feel like he better. So this is where that is. So Gilead's wound: rejection, hardness, and aggression. So that's why he was coming after them like that. 2, that conflict is a family family affair. This is not strangers fighting each other. This is a family trauma exploding. And what do we see? A lot of times our family will fight amongst themselves. That's self-sabotage. You shoot each other in the foot as it's shooting yourself in the foot. Ephraim feels overlooked. Gilead feels disrespected. Of course, both feel dishonored. Both carry unhealed wounds from Joseph's story. But this is a generational trauma repeating. Exactly, we see it in our own families. Their spiritual identities clash. Ephraim equals fruitfulness, but they are not walking in it. So even though that's where they're supposed to be, they don't act like it. And we see this with a lot of times with people. Gilead equals witness and testimony, but they are hardened by pain, and sometimes people are. Now, so Ephraim wants recognition. Gilead wants respect. This creates a cycle of conflict. Exactly. Why you want to be recognized for something you didn't do? I mean, this is, and then Gilead, he wants his respect because he's the one that actually went and got it done. He wasn't fooling with, why was you even over here messing with me? Their speech reveals their lineage. Ephraim cannot say Shiblioth. This symbolizes a lineage of out of alignment. They out of alignment, out of order. Out of order, baby. Out of order. A tribe disconnected from the flow, right from God. People unable to speak blessing. Gilead, however, he can. This is why the God sent him. He called him and allowed him to go. Their geographical shapes and then psychologically. Ephraim, Central Highlands, protected, fertile, and prestigious, produces entitlement. Yeah. Gilead, rocky ease, harsh, rugged, borderline, produces toughness. The environments create opposite emotional cultures. Exactly. That's why they clash too. The conflict is a prophetic warning. When insecure Ephraim meets rejected Gilead, you get a miscommunication, an offense, overreaction, a civil war, a generational loss. This is a lineage pattern that repeats in families, churches, and nations. Ooh, you could say that again, honey. Don't we see it right now? So now I wanted to go into, because I kept saying, Lord, I'm nosy. I'm looking at all the stuff. I'll be asking so many questions. I'm like, Lord, I'll get the digging. Let's find out what's going on. Now, where are these places today? Ephraim, modern location, is the inner meaning. It means central Israel in the region now called the West Bank, Samaria. These are the cities in the region today that include Nablus, Ramlah, Bethel area, Shiloh region. Their mental meaning is a mind that is gifted but insecure, brilliant but easily offended. Emotional meaning, a heart that wants affirmation but fears being overlooked. Physical meaning, a body that reacts quickly, tension, adrenaline, fight, or flight. Remember that? We was talking about that before. Financial meaning, a person who wants abundance but struggle with consistency and discipline. Spiritual meaning, a calling to fruitfulness but blocked by pride, jealousy, and comparison. Lineage pattern, Ephraim represents the unhealed, gifted child. Talented, chosen, but emotionally fragile. Gilead is the modern location, inner meaning, modern location, northwest Jordan, east of the Jordan River. The cities included in this region today are Ramtha, Irbid, Jerish, and Mafraq. Mental meaning, a mind shaped by survival, toughness, and self-reliance. Emotional meaning, a heart hardened by rejection, abandonment, and or being the outside. Ooh, did I see this? Physical meaning, a body that carries tension in the shoulders, chest, and stomach. Ooh, the warrior body. We talked about that stuff that goes on with our body. Yeah. Financial meaning, a person who works hard but often from a place of fear or scarcity. Spiritual meaning, a calling to be a witness, a testimony, a deliverer but often wounded. Jesus, I see my life in there. Lineage pattern. Gilead represents the rejected warrior, the strong, capable but emotionally guarded. Oh yes, that makes up. Ephraim versus Gilead, modern psychology. This is what we wanted. Ephraim is insecurity. Gilead is rejection. Now they're two tribes. They're cousins, but their wounds clash. So when insecurity meets rejection, you get miscommunication, offense, overreaction, family conflict, emotional explosions, and generational cycles. This is why this is so powerful. It's a mirror of modern day families and their trauma. Remember, they killed 42,000 of their own family members. This is not no simple argument. This is some real, we at war, we going to war to kill each other, all types of situation. This is crazy, but we see, look at this. The Jordan River, modern location, in the meaning, modern location runs between Israel and Jordan from the Sea of Galilee to the Dead Sea. A mental meaning is a mental boundary, the line between old thinking and new thinking. Emotional meaning, a crossing point where you must release old emotional patterns. Yes. Physical meaning, a place of physical transition, moving from one season to another. Financial meaning, a shift in financial identity from survival to stewardship. Yeah, not having enough to being abundantly blessed. This is how that goes. Spiritual meaning, a place of baptism, identity, transition, testing, and rebirth. Now, Shigley, the modern meaning, inner meaning, modern equivalent, is not a place. It is a password, a speech test, a cultural marker. Mental meaning, your thought patterns reveal your identity. Yes. Emotional meaning, your emotional language exposes your wounds. Yes. Physical meaning, your body reveals your internal alignment. Financial meaning, your financial habits reveal your beliefs about worth and abundance. Spiritual meaning, your speech reveals your spiritual lineage. Okay. I didn't want to look into Bethlehem. I didn't want to look into Zebulun. Parathon, I never heard of this one. Likely Ephraim Hill Country. Modern Farata in the West Bank. Mental meaning, a mind that produces ideas and legacies. Emotional meaning, a heart that desires generational impact. Physical meaning, a body that carries the weight of responsibility. Financial meaning, a place of generational wealth and inheritance. A spiritual meaning is a fruitful hill, a place of glory. I should have looked at Zebulun. Zebulun, modern inner, northern Israel, Galilee region. Mental meaning, a mind that seeks stability and grounding. Emotional meaning, a heart that desires peace and rootedness. Physical meaning, a body that needs rest and rhythm. Financial meaning, a season of steady, quiet growth. Spiritual meaning, a calling to be rooted like an oak. Bethlehem, modern, is still Bethlehem in the West Bank, south of Jerusalem. Mental meaning, a mind that bursts new ideas. Emotional meaning, a heart that nurtures and restores. Physical meaning, a body that carries creativity or creative energy. Financial meaning, a place of small beginnings that lead to abundance. Spiritual meaning, a birthplace of destiny. Now, Ephraim, inner life look. Mental, brilliant but insecure. Quick to assume offense. He's emotional. He needs validation. He feels overlooked easily. He's physically a fight or flight, adrenaline driven. Financially, he wants abundance but lacks discipline. He's jealous of others' success. Spiritually, he's called fruitful but blocked by pride. Now, Gilead is strategic, tough, survivor, mindset, emotional, guarded, defensive, triggered by disrespect. Physical, he carries tension in the body as a warrior posture. Financial, he's a hard worker, but from fear, not faith. And spiritually, he's called to be a testimony, but he's often very wounded. Jephthah, his mental was sharp, reactive, and trauma-informed. Emotionally, he was deep rejection wounds. Physically, he has high stress and high endurance. Financially, he's self-made and resourceful. Spiritually, he's a deliverer with unhealed pain. I didn't want to look at Abram's mind. Abaddon. So now, Now, the identity and course, Ephraim, he must be seen as valuable all the time. Fruitfulness is their calling, but security is their shadow. Gilead's identity, I must survive and protect myself. Testimony is their calling, but rejection is their shadow. Wow. The wound origins, Ephraim, wound origins, feeling overlooked, feeling replaced, feeling unappreciated, feeling like others get the spotlight, feeling entitled to honor. Root wound, why wasn't I chosen? Gilead wound origin, being rejected by family, being treated as illegitimate, being used only in crisis, and being excluded from inheritance, being forced to fight alone. Root wound, why wasn't I wanted? Ooh, yeah, I can feel that one. Mental pattern, Ephraim, mental pattern, overthinks honor, assumes disrespect, interprets neutral action as rejection. Competitive mindset, needs validation to feel secure. Thought loop, why didn't they include me? They must not value me. Gilead mental pattern, hypervigilant, defensive, strategic, survival-oriented, assumes betrayal, right? Thought loop, I can't trust anyone. I have to protect myself. I'm more like Gilead. Emotional pattern, Ephraim, emotional pattern, easily offended, quick to anger. He's jealous, he's sensitive to status, and he's emotionally fragile. His emotional trigger is not being invited, included, and or acknowledged. Now, with Gilead, his emotional pattern is guarded, hardened, slow to trust, deeply wounded, and reactive when disrespected. Oh, Lord. Emotional trigger, feeling dismissed, disrespected, and or used. Oh, Lord, I see myself. Lord, I need some help with that. Behavioral pattern. Ephraim behavioral pattern confronts aggressively, demands recognition, starts conflict to regain honor, uses intimidation, acts out of insecurity. Behavior, threaten Jephthah with fire. Gilead's behavior pattern, he fights back fiercely. He overreacts when triggered, uses strength to defend, and can become harsh. Yeah, acts out of trauma. Behavior, Judges 12, he killed 42,000 Ephraimites, his own folks. I just slaughtered them all. I ain't got time. Lord help me. Relational pattern. Ephraim in relational pattern, he needs affirmation, he needs to feel central, he needs to feel chosen, he struggles with others' success, he creates conflict when he's insecure. His relationship, no shadow, is offense, accusation, and escalation. Gilead, his relational pattern is needs loyalty, needs respect, needs emotional safety, struggles with vulnerability, creates distance with hurt. Oh, I am such a Gilead. Relational shadow, rejection, withdrawal, and exposure. Oh, yes. I can't be, Lord, you got to help me with that little temper thing. But yeah, how they clash the core of Judges. This is the diagnostical map. Ephraim's insecurity triggers Gilead's rejection. Gilead's hardness triggers Ephraim's offense. This cycle creates a cycle. Ephraim feels overlooked and confronts. Gilead feels attacked and defends. Ephraim escalates, demands honor. Gilead explodes. He retaliates. Both feel justified. Both feel wounded. And both repeat the cycle. This is family trauma, not tribal politics. Oh my gosh. Woo! Won't he do it? Let you see it all. Just boom. Just play it out like the Young, the Restless, and the Colored. Diagnostical questions. Which lineage are you operating from? Are we Gileads or are we Ephraims? I am definitely a Gilead. Ephraim diagnostic questions. Do I feel offended when I'm not included? No. Do I assume people don't value me? Really don't care. Do I compare myself to others? No. Do I need recognition to feel secure? Nope. Do I get angry when I feel overlooked? Nope. Been done that all my life. Do I feel entitled to certain roles and honors? Nope. If yes, Ephraim lineage is an activation. That's you. Gilead diagnostic questions. Do I feel like I must protect myself? Yes. Do I assume people will reject me? Yeah, usually. Do I shut down emotionally? Most of the time. Do I feel like an outsider in my own? Yeah. Family? Yeah. Do I overreact when I feel disrespected? I can at times if you push the wrong buttons. Do I carry old wounds into new relationships? I try not to, but sometimes I think, whether I know it or not, I might. If yes, Gilead lineage is my activation. Yep. Healing paths for each lineage. This is where we want to get to. This is our path, the restoration blueprint. Ephraim's healing path is identity healing. I am valuable even when unseen. His emotional healing is release comparison and jealousy. His behavioral healing is to practice humility and patience. His spiritual healing is return to fruitfulness and not entitlement. His relational healing is to celebrate others' victories. Now, Gilead, his healing path, identity healing. I am wanted even when rejected. Okay. by the Lord, yeah. Emotional healing allows softness and vulnerability. I gotta work on me with that. Behavior healing, let God turn your wounds into testimony. Yeah, that's what we're doing now. And relational healing, let people in slowly and safely. That's one of the things that you gotta work with me on. Letting them guards down. But anyway, he said, God, Jehovah, so I've been doing just that. Got that barrier. Like, oh, look at the top. I got to do something with this. But anyway, the final diagnostic summary: Ephraim equals the insecure, gifted lineage. They want honor, need validation. They easily offended and competitive, fruitful but fragile. Gilead is the rejected warrior lineage. He wants respect, needs safety, emotionally guarded, trauma-driven, but strong but wounded. And together they represent two sides of the same family womb. So, okay. So for us, depending on what is going on in your life, you can ask yourself those same questions, and you can put yourself in either category, and you can kind of piggyback off of those questions and, just go from there in your own journey. Because sometimes it's just us, because I be saying to myself, I wonder if it's just me. And I'm like, is it just me and my bugging? Or, is this really what I'm seeing, or am I bugging out? Because I don't know. I could be bugging. I could be just overthinking, because I do that from time to time. Thinking too much into it or whatever. People say and do things. Do they really mean that today? And then, you got to kind of break it down, and I kind of compartmentalize and unpack it and just look at it and be like, because my mind be very analytical. God be like, listen, I'm going to need you to chill. You can analyze and predict every outcome and every year. Folks were like, girl, you need to relax. I know I do sometimes. I be just so serious about it. Is like, but that's that Gilead situation. So having to do it myself, and nobody's really coming to save me or help me and all of that, and that's where you get that from. And it's not, it's always fight or flight. No, you don't always want to be that way. Trust me, you don't. But if that's what life has been for you, for the longest thing, that's your pattern. You get used to it, and you have to, ask God to help you unpack and unravel that, so that you don't, because then you'll push away the people that is meant to be in your life and be good to you. You don't want to run them off, because that's the ones that God sends you to destiny help us, the ones supposed to love you, help you, and then you'll accept the ones who come in pretending, because they, and like I was saying in the last one, that's why you can't tell people your story, because especially, just coming in, they'll try to use that to their advantage to get close to you, and I always tell myself, everybody wants something. It's just, you got to figure out what it is that they want before they get it, and if it's something you are willing to give or want to give, and that's just that. But as long as it's a reciprocal situation as well, that will be helpful. But as we can see, we all need some rest. We all been exhausted, and it's a mental exhaustion, an emotional, a financial, a spiritual, and a physical. We be exhausted sometimes, and God gave us the prescription for that. It is called rest. So in the end, all of these folks need some rest. They needed some time out, some patience, and all of these things, some time apart, when stuff is, conflicty. Like I said, I just will go in my own little, box and chill, and I'll be like, listen, before it gets worse and get out of hand, before I get to the point where I'm about to go off, let me just go on over here and chill, because I don't get angry often. And people that know me for the most part, I don't get angry often. But baby, when I'm there, I'm all the way there, and I ain't coming back. It's like, once we go down that road, ain't no coming back, because now I'm there. Now I'm fired up now. Now I'm ready to roll. And it's just hard, because once I'm there, it's like, I don't want to come back. I'm ready to, get what I need to get off, so I can go sit down and feel better about it. And then after that, then I'll be all right. But until then, I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to rock. It got me amped up. It's like heating the oven up, shake and rattle in the cage, and and that's exactly what happened in this story. Ephraim rattled the cage for no reason, knowing that these people are battlers. They fight. They've been battling all this time. But you want to, walk around thinking somebody playing with you. Ain't nobody playing with you. Y'all lost 42,000 men. And these are cousins. This is crazy. But you see how this stuff happens, and when we look at our own families and our own bloodline. My thing is, if you respect people's boundaries, you know people don't play when it comes to certain things. Don't say and do certain things to them. If I already know you a little cuckoo, or you hack up, there's certain things I'm not gonna say and do. Just out of respect, not because I'm fearful enough, but out of respect for you, for who you are as a person. But I think people with these pride and these egos, they like the poke, they like to see what you're gonna do because they want you to react. And then once you react and you go all crazy, then when see what she did, she did that, but you don't tell why. You see, that be the problem. They leave all of the stuff that will make a lot of sense. The devil in the details. Okay, well, nobody just jumped on you for nothing. So what did you do to make the person jump on you? Because you had to have done something. Now, in extreme cases, you got some people that are just a little special and will do stuff like that. But for the most part, something had to pop off. And you got to, get into it and unpack it all. Let's not leave nothing out. Because when you leave stuff out, it can sway one way or the other way. When it's time to, like they do with the judging the situation to kind of figure out, well, what's going on? Who was in the right, who was in the wrong? Because this had been, avoided. Both of you played a part in it, whatever. Taking responsibility for the position that you played. If you was the one instigating it, or if you was the one that ended it. And however you ended it, sometimes it's a good way, and sometimes it's not. I tell people, listen here. Don't be mad at me when you come over here and you get me out of my character. You already know I'm capable of it. And then you get mad when I say and do something when you already knew that was going to happen. So why would you even do it? And then you want to be mad at me about it. No. You should have just left me alone. That's all you had to do. Leave me alone. But this is what I mean by people's resting in their battles and not being called to everything. And like I said, I took my cape off because I had to understand that I'm not God. I can't control people. I can't make people do nothing. They can't make me do nothing. Everybody has, free will. And it's a beautiful thing. God gives us free will to do what we choose to do. As long as folks doing what they doing, it ain't bothering me. It ain't affecting me. Ain't affecting my kids, my money, my this, we straight. Now, if you start crossing lines with that, then that's when we might have a problem. But outside that, I don't care. You be hanging off the chandelier, swinging around, spinning around. I walk past you like I don't even see you. I don't even care. As long as you're going to fall on my head, I'm good, So, we are bruised and not broken. I hope this word was a blessing to you. This is Judges chapter 12. Like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. I have been trying to get these words out, and I'm going to tell you sometimes for whatever reason, it takes forever for these words to actually upload. I can upload the short, and then it takes forever for the actual video, but please be patient with me. I don't know what be going on. I just don't have the slightest idea. For all my people who need to rest and who need to shut it to the up and mind your business and stay out of stuff and not be drawn to drama and, conflict all the time, this is what, because a lot of people, if they don't have drama, they just don't have a life. They don't, that excites them. That gets them going. I tell people, even with relationships, if you attracted to people, it's always got to be something going on. People like, oh, that's boring. They live the boring. Give me the boring life, please. I don't want we back and forth fighting all the time and arguing all the time. Nah, I know life ain't going to be, perfect. Everybody going to argue and, go into stuff, from time to time. Disagreements, whatever. But it ain't got to be always, all the time, battle for battle for battle for battle for battle. Like, this is crazy. And when we talk about seasons and we talk about time to fight, a time to war, time to sleep, rest, a time to harvest, live, to die, to sow, to reap. This is what this is about. Because if your life is all about battle all the time, and struggle, and this, that, and the third, something's not right. And I tell people, you got to look that up. Because, see, me and my older, I'm trying to relax, release. Calm it on down. I need my healing, my deliverance, my restoration. My Lord is doing this for me. It helps your skin get better. It helps you age backwards. It helps you do all of these wonderful things, Helps you lose weight and be healthy. This is what I'm talking about. Because I ain't trying to be doing all this extra. I'm not doing it with work. I'm not doing it with my kids, a man, this world. I'm just not doing it. God has given me peace that passes all understanding, and I'm going to get my peace. Peace is something that's priceless you can't pay for. Why? Because all these folks have all this stuff and they have no peace. Can't sleep in their bed at night. Can't get up and be in a good mood, having peace and joy and love in their heart. God is working on me with some things, but for the most part, I'm happy that that God has given me this part of my life where it's just me to work on me. And this is what it needs to be. When all the kids got grown, I'm not with my husband, we're separated, and all of that. So now I can work on me. God can really work on me. He can let me see me and what I'm suffering with, what I'm dealing with, because I didn't have time. My life wasn't about me. It was about everybody else. So now that it is about me, and it was about me making sure my kids was good, this one was good. Now that it is about me, I can take the time out, and God can show me, all of the things that I would have been able to do, or could have been able to do. Maybe it wouldn't have had my life, my marriage, my children, or the way it is now. Maybe a lot of stuff wouldn't have happened, but I didn't have the time to sit down and do the stuff then. A lot of it I didn't even know about, and you gotta, give yourself grace for learning it in the time frame you learn. For a lot, when God is showing it to you, for you to change it, so you can see that there's something wrong. And so that's what this is. But anyway, I hope that this word was a blessing to someone. It is just a call for us to sit down and to evaluate ourselves and to look at our lives really and truthfully and be like, ooh, that was me, I did that. Because, it says in the Bible, the heart is deceitfully wicked and sick. Who can know of it? So when we think about, we love people, we good. And you look at your heart really, you're like, Lord, how do you even deal with me, let alone me dealing with other people and them loving me and all this other stuff? So, we got to sit back and look at it. But anyway, we are bruised and not broken. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel so that others may be able to, see the video and be able to, learn from it themselves and be able to ask God to help them in their own life, because I'm just doing this because God has me doing it, and it's to help his people to break down the things that we normally every day go through that people do not talk about, don't want to talk about, embarrassed to talk about, don't know, don't understand, whether it's the Bible reading, whether it's the breaking it down, whatever it is. So as I be blessed, I have my Cash App in my bio link. It's not a requirement, but if you want to be a blessing to me and my family, that would be a wonderful thing. But if not, God is my provider. He has always provided for me. I thank him daily. My life, my health, my strength, being in my right mind, all of these things is blessings. So be blessed to be a blessing to people. And remember, what we do here, only thing that really remains is the stuff we do for the Lord. So love you guys. Like I said, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. We are bruised and not broken. And in Jesus' name, be blessed. And I hope all is well with everyone and their families. Love you guys. Later. Judges chapter 12. And today is June 4th. Love you later.